Yeah, I was here to invite to address the Cahaba issue, which was, I'm not sure if some of y'all were at the meeting. It was one of the more contentious and heated meetings I've been to in the couple years I've been doing it, but hot topic. But I didn't know much about the forest issue. I grew up in Dothan, but didn't venture out of the area much, but traveling around the state with Senator Shelby the last 6 years, we visit every county every year, and every time we pass a big patch of land or forest land, the first thing he says is like, "Man, well, don't you wish you owned all that land, about 40,000 acres with 40-year-old hard pines?" And so he wishes we had, and I do too, because if I did, I'd probably be retired by now. But it's nice. I've learned a little bit about it. Don't know everything. Y'all are much more educated on the issue, but here just to kind of address the current state of where the Cahaba Refuge is. It's the Cahaba. What they have now, it's a great protection agency that they have that was created in 2002, I believe, and they have quite a few thousand acres there. But there was a proposed expansion of the Cahaba National Wildlife Refuge. They were authorized to buy 7,600 acres in the Bibb County, and they now currently own 3,600 acres. Their proposal would expand the acquisition area by 106,415 acres and have the option on an additional 173,000 acres that the service would be able to buy development rights to create conservation easement along the Cahaba River. So, everybody here, I think, is for conservation and being a good steward of the land. But there was 3 problems with the way this was proposed. One, most of the landowners were not properly informed of the public involvement meetings that they were going to have. That was a constant complaint that we heard from our office. Most of the people said that they had not received any type of notice. And there are various issues that go into that with deeds not being properly transferred and people not being sure who the proper owners are, and out-of-state owners not being able to get that. But that was one of the biggest problems. And 2, there was not, the environmental impact study was not addressed properly from the beginning, nor did they have the proper funding for that. So, and probably third and biggest problem with the entire thing was that the words eminent domain were created in there, and that caused quite a stir. So, I don't think it was the Fish and Wildlife's initial intent to go and tell everybody that, hey, we're going to have a land grab and take everybody's land, but just the implied threat that those words are in there was not very popular amongst people. There was about 1,000 people at the meeting that we had there in Bibb County at the elementary school, and I believe that was on September 2nd. It was quickly, it was shot down by just about everyone in attendance. There were a few in favor of it, but it was an interesting meeting to say the least. I have a statement from Senator Shelby that he issued at the time. He said, I unequivocally oppose this attempt at a giant federal land grab by the Fish and Wildlife Service. If FWS continues to push this egregious and unjustified expansion, I will do all in my power to ensure its failure. We are already making great efforts to protect the Cahaba River watershed, as we should be, but this proposal is simply a bridge too far, lacking any legitimate justification whatsoever. Pure and simple, this is an overreach by the federal government that I will fight. He opposed it. Like I said, I don't think Senator Shelby or anyone is opposed to conservation measures in any means, but this was, I believe, an unjustified example of trying to overstep the bounds and was not properly implemented. So that's kind of the basics there. But there were some of the questions that Senator had for the Fish and Wildlife Service. Said, how and why did the FWS plan to implement their plan without an environmental impact study, which they did not have at the time. It was not done. There was a draft, but it was never completed properly. And also working to take the one issue that we worked really hard for, from our standpoint, from Senator Shelby's office, is to remove the words eminent domain out of the way they write their environment, their EIS, and their manuals going forward on future expansion of any refuge. So, and also the third big question that the Senator had was, how did they plan to fund this expansion? Currently, the Fish and Wildlife Service has a $3.5 billion backlog for operations and maintenance, and that's at all their facilities across the country. But also, there was another, it was just never properly funded. They didn't have the funding that they needed in place, and if it were to move forward, Senator Shelby was ready to stand up and try to block their funding through that to buy that, for their rights to buy that land. So That's kind of a brief synopsis on it, on where it is. Currently, it is permanently tabled as far as we know right now. There's not been another move to try to expand this. That's not to say that it could not happen down the road, but for immediate future, there's nothing that we know of on the table to try to continue forward with this expansion as it is. If there's people who are wanting to sell their land to Fish and Wildlife in that area, they're more than welcome to do so. We cannot stop anybody, and it's their right as property owners to do so. But currently, there's not a plan to move forward with that as far as Fish and Wildlife's, as far as they're concerned. And we stand ready to support that in any way that we can, and do whatever we can from our office standpoint to try to block them. And Senator Shelby's position on the Appropriations Committee is able to help out with the funding of future expansions. So that's one thing. And Lee also asked me to touch on conditions. What can Senator Shelby and Congress do to help you as landowners, make your land thrive and enjoy it as best you can? And if y'all have ever been to one of his town hall meetings, as we travel around to each county every year, he has a simple philosophy that says, I like to create conditions to help you help yourself. And whether that means less government involvement, a better tax policy where you're fairly regulated, not overtaxed and overburdened by the government, and help them kind of stay out of your way, it's probably the best thing that he can do from his standpoint of view, and encourage policies, whether it's through trade, taxation, EPA regulations, try to help out from that standpoint of view. Now, you may not agree on everything, as he would say. Hell, my wife doesn't agree with me on everything, but, it's fair, and I think for the most part, he understands the troubles and hardships that a lot of you are facing through different government policies. I think he's been a supporter of the landowners for a long time, representing the 7th Congressional District for a long time in the House, and then as a senator for the last 25 years. He's familiar with the state, all the forest areas all across the state, and we try to help out with the timber growers and the producers as well. And also, he's a pretty avid outdoorsman, bird hunter, loves to bird hunt, so he's a big fan of that and tries to go out any time he can. But those are just a couple of the things. Also, another area we try to help out is if there is a disaster, such as I know Katrina was a big one. The hurricanes have taken a big toll on a lot of forest land, as well as tornadoes. We don't have too many fires here, but if we are able to help through that, whether it's through FEMA or any other assistance program, we're always more than willing to help out in any way that we can. But that's a brief overview of his positions, where he stands, and what the future of the Cahaba is. And I'll tell you, I'm not an expert. I didn't write any legislation or anything on that, but happy to try to answer any questions anybody might have.